Hello there friends and welcome. For today's Dragon's Dogma 2 guide we have all about the Magic Archer class. Just like in the first game, it's definitely one of the strongest classes capable of amazing damage. As a matter of fact, you'll actually get access to the ultimate ability in the entire game to one-shot any boss whatsoever, including even dragons, with complete ease. As if that was not enough, you'll still be quite versatile, capable of exceeding at both range, with the ultimate sniping skill in the game that's more like firing a grenade launcher at either enormous range or point blank for heavy area of effect damage, followed by extreme single target damage potential as well with your machine gun arrow shots. Even the special ability to heal and revive your opponents from range just like a mage. All of which combines in a neat little package that makes Magic Archer a blast to play. So without further ado, let us get into our Magic Archer guide, first with the best skills. We might as well start with the ultimate Magic Archer skill for damage, Martyr's Bolt, also your Maester skill. When you charge this to full, bosses will pretty much instantly die, which is why I said Magic Archer is the ultimate class at instantly one-shotting bosses, even dragons. Of course, it does have the downside of also deleting your very own hit points bar, because the more HP you spend to charge the skill, the bigger the damage will be. Also, it's not normal HP loss because you can't really recover it by normal spells or most consumables. You kinda have to rest. Honestly, it's not that much of a downside considering you are one-shotting any boss in the game. Second, it's not like you fight bosses that often. Lastly, you can always just go for a campsite and fully rest anyways. Or even consume wake stones. Anyways, Magic Archer isn't just about Martyr's Bolt. You might not want to use it because of how powerful and cheesy it is, or you just don't want to suffer the heavy HP cost, and that's what all of your other also very powerful skills are for. Starting with one of my favorites, Blaze Fang Arrow. This is the best sniping skill in the game by far. You'll fire a flaming arrow that has amazing range, and you can actually change the direction of the arrow as it flies towards the enemies. Once it hits either the ground or the enemy, it will explode, dealing heavy area of effect fire damage. The best part is how versatile this skill is. It's not just for sniping, because you can and should also use it for dealing with multiple nearby enemies by firing the arrow at point blank range. While the sniping variant is kinda slow when it comes to the flying arrow, if you fire it upon the ground, it will explode very fast, almost instantly. This is what makes Blaze Fang Arrow the ultimate Magic Archer skill for area of effect damage and instantly clearing most of the common enemy battles and packs. As the damage itself is quite big and unlike other MA skills, it's not split if you fire it on multiple targets. All the targets will take full damage. Overall, it's definitely a must-have, and chances are the skill you'll be spamming the most during exploration. Magic Archers also have another extremely powerful skill, this time for the dungeons and caves of the game, as they tend to have very narrow corridors and hallways. And we are talking about Ricochet Arrow, of course. As the name itself implies, when you fire the arrow, it will keep bouncing back and forth nearby walls, or let's say pillars and columns. The closer they are to one another, the more bouncing you'll have, which of course results in extreme amounts of area of effect damage, capable of easily destroying any enemy inside the dungeon. Of course, the arrow is quite weak for normal exploration, that is, during the open areas of the world map, but for dungeons, it's your best tool for damage. Another amazing skill is Sagitate, Downpour and Avalanche, and these will be your best skills for heavy single target damage, especially against bosses' weak spots, as it lets you unleash a heavy onslaught of multiple magical arrows against either a single enemy or multiple ones, but it's better for a single target as you'll combine more arrows for more damage. Sure, it will never deal as high damage as, let's say, your ultimate Maester Martyr's Bolt, but it doesn't reduce your hit points to nothing. So chances are you'll just be spamming Sagitate Avalanche instead against dangerous single targets or bosses. The damage can really add up, and it's charged relatively fast as well, Just be sure to focus on a single spot of a boss, for example. Magic archers also have an amazing skill for utility, Recovery Arrow, which essentially lets you either heal your pawns, just like a mage would, or revive them quickly from range instead of having to get close. The healing itself is very valuable because it pretty much removes the need of having a mage pawn outside of their unique Celerity Haste spell. On the other hand, because of how fast Magic Archer can kill enemies, especially from range, chances are your pawns won't exactly be dying much. So it's not really a necessary skill to have, but still quite unique and useful. Lastly, we have Frost Seeker and Frost Hunter both, which is essentially your main ice damage skill. The main advantage is of course the ice element, plus the fact the bolts will keep spinning round back and forth and hitting the enemy multiple times, for close to a damage over time effect. It's just that it's something I'd rather have earlier when you won't have access to the other more powerful skills I've just covered. Now that we know what each of the best skills are, let's cover the best main 4 skill set. Martyr's Bolt is of course the must-have if you really want to delete bosses with just one shot, but as I mentioned before, it's quite costly, so you might prefer to ignore it for something else, as it's not exactly necessary. You still have good enough damage regardless. Sagittate Avalanche of course is the second must-have for the heaviest single target damage, followed by Blazefang Arrow for the amazing sniping and also point-blank explosion potential, so it's your best tool for enemy packs. Lastly, I really enjoy Ricochet Hunter, of course to easily destroy any enemy inside a dungeon, but like I said, it has a restricted use, so just like Martyr's Bolt, if you aren't planning on doing any dungeon, just replace it for something else, like Frost Seeker Bolt or Recovery Arrow. Now what about the other Magic Archer skills? They can still be useful, it's just that they won't be as powerful as the ones we just covered. Candescent Orb, for example, will fire a big orb of fire that keeps dealing damage to enemies around it. It's just that you might as well just explode them outright with Blazefang Arrow instead. Sedative Bolt can put enemies to sleep, but you can just destroy them with pure damage, even from range. Arctic Bolt can be useful at least as far as staggering and knocking, let's say, bosses down. It's just that once again, you can kill them with high amounts of fast damage instead from other skills. And as far as Bolt Chain Stake, I didn't really find it that useful. I mean, it can bind enemies to one another, which prevents them from moving, but once again, you have enough damage from range to the point that this isn't really necessary. The same for Life-Taking Arrow, which lets you recover hit points, or the Fortalice skill, which makes your allies invulnerable to enemy damage, but only for a very short while, and upon the enemy attack, the shield will break, thus dealing damage to the enemy instead. But the logic is still the same. You don't really need to make allies immune to enemy attacks when you can easily burst down even bosses super fast with a Magic Archer. Now what about the best augments for a Magic Archer? You actually have some quite good unique ones that, amusingly enough, buff the power of your pawns instead of yourself, such as Ascendancy for higher strength and magic, or Sustainment for more defenses, even utility from Voracity to restore stamina on kills, and higher loot drop chance. Because magic is what really matters for a Magic Archer, as the name itself implies, you might also want to go with Sorcerer's Sagacity. Archer also has some pretty nice stuff, especially Ambuscade, for more damage whenever the enemies are unaware, and that's what your Sniping Grenade Launcher is for, through Blazefang Arrow, or Lethality for higher damage whenever attacking the enemy's weak spots, great to combine with Sagittate Downpour. And as far as your core skills, all are useful, just remember that you can alternate between 2 firing modes at will, Pinpoint Volley and also Rivet Shot. One is better for targeting multiple enemies, so more enemies at once, like enemy packs. The other for specific areas or single enemies, as you'll have a smaller aim circle. Also, don't forget, even your normal attack through Rivet Shot can be quite the force to be reckoned with as it charges extremely fast. And of course doesn't cost any stamina whatsoever. For gear, just as a small note, the rings of proximity are quite powerful for this type of character, as it will increase the damage whenever firing your bow the closer you are to the enemy. Since you excel at point blank shots from either your fire, grenade launcher, arrow, or even Sagitate, Downpour, and your ultimate skills, they are quite worthwhile additions. Otherwise, just go with rings that increase magic if you'd rather snipe the enemies from afar. And as far as unlocking Magic Archer, it's pretty simple, but somewhat time consuming. It starts at the Put a Spring in Thy Step quest, where you'll help a dwarf that wants some flowers, right at the entrance to the Volcanic Island map. You'll later go to his home and he'll ask you to guide him and escort him to the Volcanic Island camp. And that's it, you unlock Magic Archer and also the Maester skill by speaking with, well, his wife, the Maester NPC. And well, so this was it for our Magic Archer the Best Boss One-Shotter guide. If you found it useful, as always, please remember to like, subscribe, and also consider becoming a channel member if you can. I highly appreciate your support. Thank you for watching and see you next time, friends, with our Trickster guide.